Yeah, don't anyone get any ideas to beat my record, because I'm fairly certain it's easy to break. Speed was not my main focus. And just a warning before I get talking, anytime I refer to we, that means me and the bike. We built kind of a relationship, so it was just me, but I talk in the we sense sometimes. So I kind of named my blog after the 100 Great Geosites, and I came up with the Great Geology cycle. So when you look at these sites, they are very spread out. You guys did a good job of getting around the entire UK. But cycling to these, they're not quite built to be cycled to. You look at some of these you got way up in the north and way in the south of Ireland, just everywhere, But I managed to get to them all. The blue shows my route. There's some gaps where, with the GPS, my battery died, but we did make it to all of them, and in a bit of a roundabout route. And we saw a lot of England, of Scotland, of Wales, Ireland. Like I say to people, when they ask me, what have you seen? I say, well, just ask me, name something that maybe I haven't seen, and I'll let you know if I've seen it or not. So this is when I started out. Me and the bike were fairly bright-eyed, and all of our gear is new, and we look excited. And we started out on the very nice flat area of England. We started in Manchester and worked our way a little bit south, and then headed across the center, following these nice, gentle canal paths. Just perfect, because I won't lie, I didn't do any training. I had been sitting on a drill rig all winter, so I was a bit out of shape. So this was one of our first sites. It was one of the most dramatic sites, and one of my favorites was Hunstanton Cliffs. And where I'm from, I've never seen chalk, and so the contrast with the limestone underneath, the red limestone, was just stunning, and I absolutely loved it. So I had to include this picture. And the bike. This was early days where I was very motivated, so I'd take the bike down to every site and make sure I got a picture. And we had some gorgeous views. This is around the Scarborough coast, Robins Hood Bay, and this was early summer, and you could just cycle into the evening, and it was just absolutely gorgeous, some of the scenery that we see around this country. Then, this is one of the sites. This is Brimming Rocks, and in things that defy physics, you see the balancing rocks, and yeah, I actually tried to do a headstand beside this one, but it didn't quite work out. I don't balance quite as well. And then, as we head into the Pennines and the Yorkshire moors, the trails got a bit more hilly and a bit less flat and easy to cycle. This was out to Gaping Gill, was one of the sites, an old bridleway, and I was pushing the bike the whole time. As you can see, 20% grades. There was more bike pushing. I was in some of the hills where you see, I realized where not to go. When you see these spray-painted yellow bikes, those are from the Tour de France, I realized, no, I should avoid those routes. They're very hilly. But there were these hills always gave way to some really dramatic scenes. This is along the Windsill, one of the geosites, and it's just stunning. You can see the Windsill above, and then you have sandstone and limestone below layers, and just to be able to see it in up close was just amazing. Then now we're in Scotland. We slowly made our way to Scotland. And what I really enjoyed about Scotland is this is where geology started. This is, you're following the footsteps of James Hutton, and this is the classic sticker point. And it was an interesting sight. I went out there, I was all alone, and I ended up, as I was leaving, as I was cycling, someone in a car coming up to me, they stopped and they pulled me over, because on my shirt they saw I was from the University of Alberta. I had an old university sweatshirt, and they stopped me and they pulled me over, and they were actually geologists from Alberta that were also making the pilgrimage to Sticker Point. And then another one of the classic, this is the Hutton's Unconformity out by Edinburgh, and And yeah, this was a good day. We met up. This is when I was slowly getting traction with, I was using Twitter as a social media account, and I had met up with a fellow geologist named Angus Miller, and he runs tours. So we met up, and he showed me around Edinburgh and these great sites, and gave me a bit of history that I wouldn't have gotten myself. And of course, the bike had to get in the picture. Then we get further out in Scotland, and just spectacular views. This is the parallel roads of Glenroy. You can see the old lake bed shores along the edges of these cliffs from the glacial period, and it's amazing to see these history recorded in these ways, and that it's still there today. And then also this was the site of Darwin's biggest blunder. He thought they were seashores, I think. And I thought it was fitting that there was a cafe called Darwin's Cafe. I don't know if I'd want a cafe named after me in the place I had my biggest blunder, but... And then we got out. This is around the north coast of Scotland, and you have these stunning sand beaches, and then you also have this is Cahashmore. Excuse my pronunciation. I'm very Canadian, but just a gorgeous fault. And yeah, we had a great night camping here actually because of the wild camping. And it wasn't all about geology. I had to be a bit of a tourist sometimes, and I did make it out. Timing seemed to work out perfectly, and I made it out to the Aberdeen Highland Games. And because I'm not one to just sit and watch events, they had a 100-yard dash for international participants. So I thought, I better enter this because, well, back in my high school days, I could run track. But I entered, and I did end up winning, but it was very close. So. And then, so this trip has taken me to a lot of places in the UK, and Unst, excuse my pronunciation, is the northernmost island of the UK. And I was very lucky to arrive here on the solstice. And it was just an amazing experience because there was no darkness. The sun was it was twilight all night. It was amazing. And we made some friends along the way with some Shetland ponies. He wasn't too impressed with the bike, I don't think. And we got out. This is out at the Orkneys at the Old Man of Hoy. So in the very tippy top, I took the bike. This was still early days. The bike got all the way up there. And it made for a stunning picture. But even though all these pictures show, it seems like it's sunny all the time, it was not sunny all the time. This is out, now we got into the Northwest Highlands Geopark. Now, if you ever go look back at the map, they kind of have a bit of a, how would you say, monopoly on some geosites. I think there are about 8 in the park, but it is a stunning park. And this was just at a road construction site, and you can see all the different types of rocks. It was just such a beautiful, the colors and the contrast. It was a great site to stop at. And this is at Glencool, and of course we made, you get the Great Geology site, and then it also made for a perfect campsite. And I made it a point along my way, if I could, to camp at some of the geosites. I felt that, bonded me with my trip a bit more. One of the sites that I was a bit nervous about, and when I started, a lot of people I met along the way were worried that I wasn't going to make it out to, was St. Kilda. And because apparently you're supposed to book in advance and all this stuff, but I left it up to fate. I said, well, if it's going to work out, it's going to work out. And I ended up getting on a ferry to St. Kilda on the exact day that I arrived, and they let me take my bike. And so I guess my bike may be the first bike to have been at this point in St. Kilda, overlooking the old village. And so I feel kind of proud about that. And it was a beautiful day. It was a great geosite to have. Hard to get to, but well worth it. And there were some sites that weren't geosites, but you get talking with locals and you get telling them about what you're doing, and they say, oh, you should go out to here. So this is a neat beach out on the Outer Hebrides with some dikes, and just the stunning contrast in some of these Scottish rocks, and they make for great pictures, and everyone loves a great picture. And we went out, so we did a lot of the Isles in Scotland, and this is on Skye at the ferry pools, very touristy. But and the Culligan Mountains, that is a geosite, and so we took the bike out and did the typical touristy thing. And of course, the classic Staffa, and just there's no words to describe it. It's gorgeous, and if you ever have a chance or haven't been, well worth the visit. And in a moment, I'll tell you why there's a second reason you should go to Staffa. Because of these guys. So I was very lucky on my trip that, a lot of these geosites took me a lot of places, and by visiting them, I got to see a lot of things that I might have not have seen just on my own. So on the tour to Staffa, we also got to go see the puffins, which was great. And sometimes you get tired of cycling and the sun's out. So you go to the nice Scottish beaches. This is at Calgary Bay and Mull. And you take a time out. I had to include this one. It's just a day off. And this is now I'm headed closer to Ireland. This is the Isle Aran, and this is another one of Hutton's unconformities. Not quite the pilgrimage site as Sicker Point, but another important one as well. Then, of course, we got to Northern Ireland. This is the classic Giant's Causeway. And then I loved how there was a bit of competition between the Scottish. You get the Scottish idea of Staffa, and then you get the Irish idea of Giant's Causeway. And at Giant's Causeway, they showed this little show, and they portrayed the Scottish as a bit rough and simple people. So it was a bit funny. And I quickly learned as I arrived in Ireland how true this is. The rain in Ireland was beyond what I experienced in Scotland. It was on a whole nother level. But the rocks formations in Scotland, this actually isn't a geosite, but it was near one of the geosites, Sealyfield Bogs. And this was a sea stack that was just a classic sedimentary example you kind of had to go to. You almost want to take a little bite of it. It looks like a tasty cake. And there was also here you see this is a Daldrian marble, and just combined with the stunning landscape and some sheep friends, it was a great site. And in Ireland, they like their signs, which sometimes doesn't help with navigation. But we did make it to the most important sites in the end. And this is out at Wales at the Perry Mountain Mine. Not on the 100 geosites, but when you're going around, there's just so many geosites that you visit. I'm sure in the end I've maybe visited about 200 that are important. And it was such a stunning landscape. The heather was out, and you get the colors of the rocks, and it was a great site. And then we also went tracking dinosaurs at Benjerk Rock. And, this is a great site for kids. When I went out there was a father and son just, so excited to be looking for dinosaur footprints. And it's just a great way to get kids involved in geology at a young age. And, of course, the classic tourist stop, Stonehenge, that was one of the geosites. And it was great. Sometimes some of these sites are way out in the middle of nowhere, but then you get to some of the real touristy stops, and I do like it. And it is there is a reason why it is such a destination. Then I thought 20% hills were the maximum I was ever going to get. Then I got to Devon, and there's 30% grade hills. But it was well worth it, that hill, out to Mizzen Head. Just absolutely gorgeous folding. Well worth a visit again. In everywhere I've been, I didn't see anything like this except for there. And this is out at Lyme Regis. And again, you know, it's just amazing, the limestone pavement with all the fossils. I know my picture maybe doesn't do it justice, but I always thought, well, take, you know, if you ever have kids, take them and just give them a little area and say, count how many fossils there are, and, you know, they'll be busy for hours. And then this is coming near the end of the trip, and daylight was getting shorter, but we did get some stunning sunsets. This is over Turtle Door, and you have the white chalk cliffs in the background. And we did get one final sunny day out of this was the Beachy Head. And yeah, then we finally made it to London. This is our, you know, we look a bit more faded than we did in that first picture, but we gone through, I think we had about 10 punctures. We had 3 crank sets replaced, got new tires put on, new brakes, but we made it. And yeah, and now we're here.